Hey guys, King Sway here, and welcome to Tales of Adventure. Today we have a story about how a player takes shots at another player, just because they kind of take issue with the character concept that the original post, the OP, has. We'll get right into it, so roll post. My friends and I were playing Dragon Age at the time, taking a small break from D&D. In this story we have Tim, the DM, Stephanie, the human chantry sorceress, Nick, the Templar, Dan, the Dalish and apprentice to the keeper, and me, apostate warrior werewolf. I'll explain that one in a second. The adventure took place in Ferelden. The DM told us he had an idea of the adventure he wanted us to run, or rather that he wanted to run, but first he wanted to see what kind of characters we created. Stephanie chose to be a human mage with enchantry. Nick decided that a Templar after Stephanie. She said she wanted to be a Temple mage, and then Nick decided, hey, you know what? Let me be a Templar, just so I can keep an eye on you. Dan chose to be an elf apprentice to the keeper, which I thought was cool and had a lot of potential for roleplay aspects, but that doesn't affect the story. I purposely waited to reveal what my character was so that no one could actually try to steal any parts of my idea to try and put towards theirs. Kinda I know, but I wanted to feel like my character was truly unique just this one time. When the DM asked me what my character was, I got a big grin. Oh boy, this should be good, Tim said. I'm an arcane warrior werewolf, I stated. I looked around and everyone looked at me as if I had said something really strange, which I know I kind of did. You're gonna have to give me backstory for that one, Tim said, and my grin just grew bigger. His mother was an apostate mage that could take the form of animals, and his father was a wolf, I had explained. That's nothing special. Mom was a mage, dad was a werewolf, Nick said. No, his dad wasn't a werewolf. His dad was a wolf, as in the regular kind of animal, I said, with the smile still on my face. So, how does that make him a werewolf? Tim asked. His mother could shapeshift, and in doing so, turn into a wolf. She wanted to better understand the ways of the animals and the creatures of the forest. During her time as a wolf, she had become pregnant by an alpha wolf. While still with the child, she shifted back to her human form and endured the rest of the pregnancy as a human. My character, who was that baby, was born. He had a human form, but as he grew older, he could shift back and forth. Also threw in an explanation of how his stepfather was an elf that had trained him as an arcane warrior. That eventually left them actually siring a child with my mother's character, which means I had a half brother that was an NPC. Well, was supposed to be an NPC. His heritage and skills with the blade allowed him to fight as hard as any Reaver, and that's what most people thought he was. Anyone who saw him change never really lived to talk about it. Dan looked from me to Tim and then back to me and asked if he could be my character's half brother. I laughed and said, sure. I thought it'd be creative and cool as a roleplay dynamic between us. I like combat, but I love story. Anyway, on to the real story. Blood mages had somehow infiltrated the ranks of the Chantry and worked their mystics and magics to assassinate as many high-ranking members of the Chantry as they could. Stephanie's character, Carlene, and Nick's character, Torvin, aided in the effort to stop the assassinations, but they had to give chase to the mages. Dan's character, Fenhal, and mine, Davros, had to deal with the mages as well. Davros wasn't Dalish. His half-brother, Fenhal, was, although, and the two of them were very close. Even though Davros didn't have a drop of elven blood in him, he often used his skills and powers to help the Dalish, and just because of that, he was tolerated. But they still treated him like an outsider. The Dalish lands were being invaded by the Blood Mages, so Fenhal and Davros were sent to deal with the Blood Mages and see if they could put a stop to all their schemes. This meant that all of our characters had a chance to fight the Blood Mages at the same time. We dispatched them with only a bit of trouble. I was excited because this meant that we could actually play out our introductions, but Nick had other ideas. His Templar immediately attacked Fenhal, yelling, "Apostate!" Davros quickly got in between the two and blocked the attack. I didn't think anything of it, and I figured no one else did either. It was common knowledge about the relationship between Templars and apostate mages. Fenhal and Davros tried to explain that they had no part in whatever the Blood Mages were actually going and doing, but Torvin just wouldn't listen. Davros fended off Torvin, but more Blood Mages gathered. A large coven, actually, larger than what we could fight off at the time. That told us, or at least me, that there was a larger plan in the motions. So we get forced to retreat at the moment. Our characters introduce each other officially. As we were debating on what to do, Davros suggested he spy on the mages after retreating. Before anyone could object, Davros was off. Davros turned into a wolf and stalked the blood mages, listening from a distance. That's when a booming roar came from the skies. Davros knew what was coming. The first thing he did was run as fast as his four legs could carry him back to the group. Davros shifted back to his human form in front of everyone. Carlene was interested in what Davros did, but Torvin just grew angrier. Fenhal, however, knew that Davros changing in front of these strangers meant something very bad was coming. "Dragon!" Davros said as he pointed towards where the sound had come from. "You just," Torvin said. "You heard the roar!" Carlene snapped. "They're planning to use the dragon to attack the chantry, now that it's weakened. The dragon is their instrument. Somehow they control it," Davros explained. The dragon flew overhead and Davros growled, "Catch up when you can." And with that, Davros rushed off, changing back into a wolf. Davros zoomed past the blood mages that remained, as the others had gone to attack the chantry. The group finished off the blood mages that were there as Davros ran by. With the local chapter of the chantry weakened, Davros knew he was the only defender. Amidst the screams of the people, Davros stalked and killed as many of the blood mages as he could, one by one, trying to attack from the shadows and strike as fast and as hard as he could. By the time the others had actually caught up to him, it was only the dragon that was left. The dragon swooped by, releasing his fiery breath upon the city. Being the most nimble and the fastest, Davros scaled a tower in his hybrid form, using his claws to scale and scratch into the stone while he climbed further and further up. Carlene and Fenhal fired spells upon the dragon, and they did what they could to try and attack it. Torvin rather, found a heavy crossbow to use so that he could attack the dragon as well. Meanwhile, Davros was leaping from rooftop to rooftop as fast as he could to catch up to the dragon. It took some effort, but he did, leaping onto the dragon's back as it swooped down for another breath attack. The dragon roared in pain as Davros' claws sank deep into it. The dragon flew up and performed a barrel roll to try and shake Davros loose, but he managed to sink his claws deep enough that he stayed. Fenhal and Carlene performed a few critical hits with their spells, knocking a decent chunk off the dragon's HP. The dragon stopped attacking the city and was more concerned with trying to get Davros off its back. Davros managed to greatly damage one of the dragon's wings, forcing it to flap harder and to try and compensate for the loss of one, to try and stay aloft, but that didn't work. Torvin finally critted and shot the dragon in the eye with a bolt. It roared and Davros managed to steer it straight into a tower head first. I had to roll a few times, the saves for constitution and whatnot, but I managed. Davros erupted from the rubble, wearing and breathing heavily for a few moments as he looked around, still in his werewolf form. With the dragon actually dead, Davros roared and gave a booming howl to celebrate the conquest of the dragon. Fenhal was the first to cheer and celebrate, followed by Carlene. Davros was hurt, but used his magics to start healing himself as he shifted back to his human form. Fenhal and Carlene congratulated him. Davros as he did citizens around. But Torvin, he fired a crossbow bolt right into Davros' shoulder. What the heck, man? I said as I looked at Nick. He's an apostate, Nick replied. Dude, he just helped save the city, Stephanie said. I'm not trying to hear that. He just wanted all the attention and spotlight on him. First to the city, first to the dragon, then he's riding the dragon, Nick said. I'm faster than you. We had to save the city. No, you had to save the city. We argued a little and then just stopped the session altogether. It was over a month before we got back together again for another adventure. I wasn't trying to make the adventure about me, but I guess Nick felt that way. I'm debating on apologizing to him. And post. Well, I don't think OP was trying to make the adventure about him. He was just trying to play the character he figured he had. He was faster and he wanted to try and save the day. I can say that yes, it would have been better if he possibly anyway, if he actually kept to the group, but he would have been moving at a slower pace. And anybody that actually tries to play the hero knows get there as fast as you can to save as many people as you can. But also, there's the point of trying to break off from the group, and that usually leads to bad stuff. It kind of worked out for him this time, but you never know. But that's just my idea, or rather my opinion. Put yours down in the comments below. Like I said, I'm King Sway, and we'll see you in the next one. Please remember to like and subscribe and share, as that helps the channel grow. Thank you.